Hello, my name is Alexa Dragon, and I am doing my presentation on phantom limb pain. So one of the reasons I wanted to go into physical therapy as a career is because I've always wanted to help amputee veterans learn how to live a full life with prosthetics. And when we touched on this subject, I was really excited about it. I've learned about it a couple times before, and so I just wanted to learn some more. All right, to start off. What is phantom limb pain? So it's pain that occurs in a limb that is no longer there. The individual registers the pain, it's very real to them, but there's no limb to fix. 60 to 80% of amputees experience phantom limb pain. It can also be elicited by environmental, emotional, and physical changes. It is a neurological issue. However, most amputees don't really experience it right off the bat. um, it normally is due to some sort of environmental, emotional, or physical change that will elicit it. All right, so to understand what's going on in the brain to cause this issue, you need to understand the pathways. So pain is normally an external stimulus that sends a signal to the central nervous system via the anterolateral system that is then transferred via the lateral spinal thematic tracts into the parietal lobe. Um, in the lower extremity, it's transported from the peripheral receptor to the first degree pseudo-unipolar neurons in the dorsal root ganglion, and then it crosses and ascends to the third degree neurons in the thalamus. Um, as you can imagine, that's a very complicated pathway. And so once that, like the leg, arm, whatever is cut off, things can get a little jumbled there. This brings me to brain remapping. So I read an article called Phantom Limbs and Neuroplasticity. They tested 18 patients that were amputees of the arm, or they had some sort of brachial issue where the nerves were no longer responding. And they found that sensations from the face were transferred to the phantom limb. So what I mean by that is they were picking and poking at the face and found that the sensations were not being registered, not only like by the face alone, but also in the limb. We had talked about the homunculus in class a little bit, and so I just wanted to show a model that shows that like the brain had to rewire itself so that it was still getting signals to the brain for the limb that's no longer there because it wasn't getting them from the limb itself. Um, During their experiments, this brought them to the remapping hypothesis, which said that referred sensations emerged as a direct consequence of the change in topography following deafferentation. And some of these patients were just a couple hours out of surgery, and they were still getting this change in the brain. So luckily, phantom limb pain does have treatments. It is a neuropathic in origin, the issue I mean. So sensations can vary from throbbing, pins and needles, shooting, stabbing, and even a burning sensation. They have multiple different options, such as target muscle reinnervation. I don't have a picture of that, but it is the idea that the therapy reassigns the nerves that were once controlled by the lost limb to other parts of the bodies. Um, they also have repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. That's going to be that picture in the top left corner. They actually just put a giant magnet on the brain and it adjusts the magnetic field of the brain in order to stop pain, which I thought was kind of cool. It's non-invasive also. And then imaginal phantom limb exercises are the top right corner. So they make your hand that's still there do simple exercises, pronation, supination, flexion, extension, open, and grip. Yeah. And they have you imagine that both hands are doing it. So the body can register that like the limb is okay and that'll actually subside the pain. It goes along also with the mirror therapy, which is in the bottom right corner. So what they do is they put a mirror so that it's facing the limb that's still there. And you're supposed to tell the brain to do things like pronation, supination, inversion, eversion. And the brain sees that both limbs are doing it because you told both limbs to do it. And that also subsides the pain. Lastly, they have, this is obviously a newer one, they have VR. So what they'll do is you can see in the picture, they have a hand that's some sort of electronic device that the machine can register as your hand. So while you're doing the VR, your eyes and your brain register that the limb is still there and that it's okay, and pain will also subside, which I thought was pretty cool. Lastly, we have some fun facts. Phantom limbs are not just for amputees. I didn't know this, but I had read in a book in a previous class that a lady was born with a deformity of her arm, and she felt as though the limb she had was not her actual limb. So she was cut off right below the elbow, and but in her head, the limb that she was supposed to have was only about like 4 inches longer. So it was not the same size as her other hand, but there was still this like missing sensation that she had, which I thought was pretty fascinating because she was born this way. They tried to fit her for prosthetics and so that it would be even on both sides, that she would look quote unquote normal, but she had no spatial awareness with it because she didn't feel like that was the length that her hand was supposed to be. And so they ended up being able to fit her for one that she felt was her real hand. But in that phantom space, she was feeling pain until she was able to get the right prosthetic. Um, this is my sources page. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thank you.